Hello there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and we're back again this week with another Amigurumi Advent Calendar Crochet Along pattern. This week we are going to make these cute little sun hats for our dolls, and they're just so precious. I love the little frill that we have happening here in the brim. So if you're ready to follow along with today's tutorial, you're going to need the following materials. You're going to need worsted weight yarn in your colors of preference. You're going to need 2 different colors. Today I'm using Bravo worsted weight from We Crochet in the colors Denim and Dove Heather. You'll also need a stitch marker, a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, and a 3.5mm or E crochet hook. And today I'm using my favorite Furls Odyssey crochet hook from Furls Crochet. So if you're ready to get started, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to this channel. Let me clear this away and we'll get started working on our doll sun hat. To start with our sun hat for our doll, we're going to use the first of our 2 colors. I'm going to be using the blue color for the body of my hat, and I'll be using the gray for the stripe on the bottom of the hat. So we're going to start off our hat by using a magic circle or adjustable ring. You can find a full tutorial on how to do that here on the channel. And we're going to start with our magic ring here. And then we're going to place 6 single crochets into that ring to start with round 1 of our hat. Now the hat is worked in continuous spirals, so you make sure you have your stitch marker handy for marking your first stitch of each round. So to start with round 1, we're going to insert our hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, and that is our first single crochet completed. Then we're going to repeat that 5 more times so that we have a total of 6 single crochets worked into the magic ring. Now that I have my 6 single crochets completed, I'm going to pull that yarn tail tight to close the ring. And now we're going to start with round 2. And again, make sure that you've got that stitch marker handy, so that way you can mark the first stitch of your round. So I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch of the round. And it looks like I did that a little tight, so bear with me here a moment. All right, so I've inserted my hook into the first stitch of the round, and I'm yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pull through 2, and that is my first single crochet. We're going to go back into that same stitch and work another single crochet stitch. So that way we have 2 single crochets worked into the same stitch, and that's what's called a single crochet increase. So we're going to work a single crochet increase into each stitch around. So again, we're working into that next stitch, and we're doing 2 single crochets into that stitch. And working into the next stitch, we're going to do another 2 single crochets. We're going to repeat this into every stitch around. And at the end of round 2, you should have 12 single crochet stitches. And now we are ready to start with round 3. For round 3, we're going to start by placing 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Make sure that you move up your stitch marker to mark your first stitch. And then we're going to work a single crochet increase, or as I've said, 2 single crochets into the next stitch. There's 1, and there's 2. And we're going to repeat this pattern around our piece. So we'll do 1 single crochet into the first stitch, 2 single crochets into the next. We're going to repeat this a total of 6 times around. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochets or a single crochet increase into the next. At the end of this round, you should have 18 single crochet stitches. And now we are ready to start with round 4. For round 4, we're going to place 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Then we're going to single crochet increase into the next stitch. Now we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the first and second stitches. And then we're going to place a single crochet increase into the next. Now we'll single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and we'll do an increase into the next stitch. So again, that's your 2 stitches worked in the same stitch. 1 single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, single crochet increase into the next. We're going to repeat this pattern until we have 1 stitch left to work. So again, there's 1 single crochet into each of the first 2 stitches, then an increase into the next. Single crochet, increase. Now we're at the end of the round and I have 1 stitch left to work, and in that last stitch we're going to place 1 single crochet. At the end of this round you should have 24 single crochet stitches. And now we are starting with round 5, and for round 5 we're going to start by placing 1 single crochet into each of the first 3 stitches. So there's our first stitch, and we're going to move up our stitch marker. Here's our second and our third. After you have 3 crochet stitches, we're going to work a single crochet increase into the next stitch. And this is the pattern that we're going to repeat around our piece, and that is 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches, followed by a single crochet increase. And we're going to repeat this all the way around our piece. At the end of this round, you should have 30 single crochet stitches. And now we are ready to start with round 6. To start round 6, we're going to place 1 single crochet into the first and second stitches of the round. So there's your first and your second, and now we're going to do an increase into the next stitch. And now we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in the next stitch, we're going to do an increase. Now we'll do 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Followed by an increase into the next. 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, followed by an increase into the next. 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, increase into the next. I will single crochet once into the next 4 stitches, increase into the next. And at this point you should have 2 stitches unworked, and in each of those stitches you're going to place 1 single crochet. At the end of this round you should have 36 single crochet stitches. To start round 7, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the first 5 stitches. There's 1, 3, and 5. And now we're going to do a single crochet increase into the next stitch. So we're going to repeat this pattern around our piece, and that pattern is 1 single crochet into each of the first 5 stitches, followed by a single crochet increase. So you're going to repeat that pattern 5 single crochets followed by an increase, a total of 6 times around, and then at the end of the round you should have 42 single crochet stitches. And now we are ready to start with round 8. To start round 8, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the first 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, followed by an increase into the next stitch. And now we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. And now we'll do a single crochet increase into the next. We're going to repeat this pattern of 6 single crochets followed by an increase another 4 times until there are 3 stitches left unworked. So I've done my repeats and I have 3 stitches left to work, and in those stitches I'm going to place 1 single crochet into each of the stitches. At the end of round 8 you should have 48 single crochet stitches. And now for round 9, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each of the first 11 stitches. 11. And now that we have, now that we have 11 single crochets, we're going to place a single crochet increase into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat this pattern 3 more times. So we're going to place 1 single crochet into the first 11 stitches, followed by an increase stitch. At the end of this round, you should have 52 single crochet stitches. So if you'd like to pause your video and meet me back here when you're ready to start round 10, I'll meet you back here. For rounds 10 through 12, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch around. You're going to continue working in a continuous spiral. There will be no joining or any changes in stitch count. So if you'd like to pause your video and do rounds 10, 11, and 12, placing 1 single crochet into each stitch around, I'll meet you back here when we're ready to start with round 13. So I just finished my last stitch of round 12 and I'm getting ready to change colors to start with round 13. So I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail of at least 6 to 8 inches here, and I'm going to pull the yarn all the way through my stitch. What we're going to be doing is a technique called the invisible finish, and if you've been following along with the Amigurumi Advent Calendar Crochet Along, you've seen this technique used multiple times. So we're going to remove our stitch marker here, and what we're going to be doing with this technique is replicating the first stitch of the round with our yarn tail and to kind of even up our edges, so that way we have a nice clean edge when we start joining our new color. So to do that, we're going to take our tail, our tapestry needle, and we're going to insert it from front to back under both loops of the second stitch of the round. We're going to pull that yarn through, and we're going to pull it until the tail starts to look like the front loop of your stitch. Now we're going to take the tapestry needle and we're going to insert it through the top of the stitch, picking up the back loop only. So from top to back of our work, and then we're going to pull that all the way through. Okay. We're going to pull that so that way it kind of evens out the edges so we don't have that step any longer, and it looks just like the top of a stitch. Right? At this point, you can either weave in your ends or move on to the next stage. Now, if you are moving on with me, you'll have to make sure that you're holding on to this tail as you work so it doesn't come unraveled on you. I'm just grabbing my second color here, and we are ready to go. So I like to use a slip knot. You don't have to do this. This is just my own bad habit. I'm going to use a slip knot, and I'm going to attach my yarn in the new color to the first stitch of the round. So that's the stitch that we just did our invisible finish on. And I'm going to insert my hook through the back loop only, and I find that it's helpful if you pick up not just the tail that you just replicated the stitch in, but the back loop of the existing stitch underneath. And I'm going to put the yarn over my hook and pull that up and through the stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1 to attach it. Now, as I had mentioned previously, if you're moving on with me here and you didn't weave in your tail from your blue yarn here, you're going to want to make sure you give that a little tug there, so that way you're not losing tension in your stitch, and you're going to either crochet over it for the first few stitches to just help keep that in place, or pause and weave in your ends. So now that we have our new yarn attached, we're ready to work our round 13. And now working through the back loop only, we're going to place 1 single crochet into each stitch around. So there's our first stitch, and I'm going to show you the back loop only in the second stitch here. So when you're looking at the top of your stitch, the loop that's furthest from you is considered the back loop. And I'm going to insert my hook under that loop only. And you can see I'm picking up my tails in the back when I single crochet to crochet over them to hold them in place. Okay. And don't forget to mark that first stitch of the round with your stitch marker. So we're just going to be repeating this all the way around, back loop only, single crochet. And so if you'd like to pause your video, meet me back here when you're ready to do round 14. I will meet you back here in just a moment. And now we are ready to start with rounds 14 and 15. For rounds 14 and 15, we're going to be repeating the same instructions, and we're going to be working one single crochet into each stitch around, but we're going to be working under both loops of the stitch instead of the back loop as we did in the previous row. So if you'd like to pause your video and do 2 rounds of one single crochet into each stitch around, I will meet you back here at the end of round 15, showing you how to change colors and how to create the brim of our doll hat. So I just finished the last stitch of round 15 and I'm ready to finish off with this color and start with my blue color again to finish off my hat and create the brim. So I'm going to cut my yarn, and again leaving a tail of at least 6 to 8 inches, and I'm pulling that through the last stitch. Then I'm going to grab my tapestry needle here and I'm going to thread it onto my yarn tail. And just like we did when we changed colors to the gray, we're going to do another invisible finish. So I'm moving my stitch marker out of the way, and we're inserting our tapestry needle from front to back through the second stitch of the round, pulling that tight. Then we're going to insert our needle through the top of the last stitch of the round, picking up that back loop only, and pulling your yarn all the way through until it looks just like all the other stitches. I'm going to take a moment just to pull that through at the back, just weaving it in a little bit, so that way I'm not needing to hold it as we proceed. All right, and I'll finish that up later. So we're going to attach our new color now, and unlike what we did in the previous instance where we attached a color, we're going to be working into the front loop only. So I'm going to pick up the front loop of the yarn tail that I used to replicate my stitch, and I'm going to do the front loop of the stitch underneath as well. And then you're going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and here we go. And then we're going to pull it up and through the stitch. And then we're ready to proceed. So we're going to chain up 2 from here. 1, 2. And this is going to count as our first stitch. Now, this whole round will be worked in the front loop only. And again, that front loop is the loop that is closest to you. So we're going to do a double crochet into the same stitch that we just attached our yarn to. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook up under the front loop only, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2. And then we're going to repeat that. We're going to do a second double crochet into that same stitch. So again, yarn over, insert under front loop only in that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So your chain 2 counts as your first stitch. So technically now we have 3 double crochets into that first stitch. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the front loop only of the next stitch. And we're going to start our pattern repeat for this whole round. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 3 double crochets into the same stitch worked in the front loop only. So here's our first stitch, back into the same stitch. Here's our second, back into the same stitch, and here's our third. Then we're going to place 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And again, everything is worked in the front loop only of this round. So that way it causes the brim to fan out this way. Okay. So that is our repeat for this round. We're going to place 3 double crochets into the first stitch. And again, those are under the front loop only. And 1 double crochet into the next. 3 double crochets into the first stitch. 1 double crochet into the next. So if you'd like to pause your video and repeat this pattern all the way around your piece, at the end of this round, you should have 104 double crochets. If you'd like to meet me back here when you've done your last set of double crochet stitches in this round, I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to finish off our hat. So I just finished my last stitch of round 16 and I'm about to join my rounds and finish off my hat. So I'm going to join to the top of the chain 2 with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail long enough to weave in. And then I'm going to pull that all the way through. And that is your hat, your little sun hat for your doll. I really love this hat. It's so cute. And if you are an Amigurumi Advent Calendar bundle purchaser, it does have a different hat available for you, or an amended hat available for you to fit the extra wig cap that is available only in the bundle. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing. If you like free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.